Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you're having a fantastic day. I just saw my friends. I walked over to the gym and I walked through this park over this little grassy knoll, and there's a bench there. And my friends were sitting on the bench, 3 of them. And they squawked at me in a nice way. 3 magpies. They squawk, squawk, squawk. Hadn't seen them for a while, and it's getting cold now. And I think they're relocating. And I think they came to say goodbye. Did I tell you the story? This is a fascinating story. Months ago, at the beginning of the summer, when I planted my garden. I know I talked about nature yesterday, but it just happened. Months ago, when I first planted my garden, I seeded my garden. And what happened a few years ago is when the things started sprouting up, my little lettuce and stuff, I would go out every day and it would be gone. And then it would sprout a little bit more, and then I'd go out and be gone. And it turns out the birds and the squirrels and stuff were eating it. So I covered my garden with a net, like a plastic, made out of a plastic net. Just stretched it over there, just to keep the animals off until the garden gets established. And stuff was starting to grow, and the net was on there, and I just left it on there. This was months ago. I went out one morning, and I hear this ruffling near the garden. And what is that? Ruffle, ruffle, ruffle. And I go out there, and there's a small bird, a little baby, tangled up in the mesh. And it's going like that, right? And I go, oh, and I start walking towards it because I'm concerned. Oh, poor little guy. And as I'm walking towards it, the pine tree right to like 5 feet from me, I hear, bark, bark. It scared me. And there's these 2 big magpies looking at me, and they're going bark, bark. And then I look at them and go, okay, and I look at the little guy, and as I go close, I go bark, bark. I'm like, that's the parents of this little guy who maybe just ventured out of the nest, and little baby, and he's took his first flight and probably landed on the mesh I had on there and struggled to get on. He's all twirled around in it. What am I going to do? I looked at it and it looked hopeless. Completely engulfed in this plastic. A mesh, right? Like a fishing net type mesh. I go in the house. I don't want to try and pull him off. I'm going to hurt him. I go in the house and I get some scissors. I come back with the scissors. And I walk up to the little guy and I get really close to him and I kneel down, and behind me it's bark, bark. And then I kneel down and I don't hurt him, and the mom and dad stop. I hear, they stop squawking, and it's like, making sounds like that. And then I carefully start cutting the fishing net, the plastic. I'm cutting a piece, and he's all twirled up in there. So as I cut, he's getting a little bit more free, but he's exhausted. He's not even moving anymore. And I cut, until finally I cut the last little piece that he's tangled in, and he kind of flops onto the grass on his side like this. And he's not really moving. I don't know how long he's been trapped in there, right? So I kind of just scoop him a little bit, and I move him away from there, and I put him on the grass that I've cut in a nice spot. And I do that, and the mom and dad are silent behind me. And then I hear them go, bark, bark. And the little guy kind of gets up, and he doesn't know what to do, and he starts hopping. And he hops away from me, and he hops to the fence where I have a compost bin, and there's a little gap between the compost bin and the fence, and he hops, and he goes behind there. And he just, like he's escaping, he's terrified. I go there and I look, and he's huddled there behind the thing. And while I'm looking at him, I hear bark, bark, and a little bit more angry. Not bark, 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 as I get close to him. So I back away. I go back into the house, and I get a little dish that used to be like for a hamster feeding bowl, and I fill it with water. And I go back out there, and I go just the gap between the fence and the compost. I put this little water there, and as I'm doing that, I hear behind me just gentle squawking. And I go back, and I say, okay, I'm going to just leave. I go back to the house, and I go up on my patio, and I'm just quietly watching. I'm drinking a coffee and stuff. And for about 45 minutes, nothing happens. For about an hour, nothing happens. And I'm not going to sit here all day and watch. I had like 2 coffees or something, and I'm just not staring, but I'm taking note if I see anything happening there. And then eventually, after about an hour, hour and a half, I hear a little bit of a commotion. I hear the parents doing bark, 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 bark. Right? And the little guy crawls out, and he kind of tries to hop, and each hop he gets a little bit of air. Bark! He's around the backyard, and he's hopping, and eventually he does a big hop, and he flaps a little bit, and he manages to land on the top of the fence between mom and dad. So they're happy. The 2 guys are like bark, 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 and the 3 of them are happy. And then they hop into the pine tree. I guess their nest is right there in the pine tree. And I go, oh, that's great, right? But now this is strange because every other time that I've gone out to the garden, the minute I start approaching the garden and the pine tree, there were magpies there. They see me, they run away. You might hear, bark, and they're gone. Like, oh, he's coming out now, let's leave. They're scared, right? But then this happened. So then the next day, well, I get up and I go out and I walk towards the garden like I usually do. I'm walking towards this is the next day after I saved the baby. And usually what happens, like I said, when I walk towards the garden is, they see me coming and they run away. But this time I'm walking towards the garden, and they're in the pine tree. And as I get close to the garden, and I've removed the net. I forgot to mention, I've removed the net and put it away so that it doesn't happen again. As I'm walking towards the garden, the 2 adults leave the pine tree and they hop down on the fence like this far from me. They hop down on the fence as I'm approaching the garden, and they don't go bark, 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 bark. They don't do that. They go bark, 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 bark. They do that. And I look at them, and they're just like bobbing, and they go bark, bark. And I do my fiddling around. Maybe I pick a zucchini or a radish or whatever I had in there, right? And they're behind me, bark, bark, bark. They're just watching. And then I got my stuff, and I start walking back to the house, and I just look at them, and I go, hey guys, good morning. And they're like, bark, bark. And I walk away. And I'm thinking, this is like pretty wild. It was like one of those nature moments. I guess they were no longer threatened. And okay, so I go in. This happened. This is still months ago. And on that same day, after having I told you my routine, right? After having my light breakfast and probably recording a World of Tanks Fit and stuff, then it's time for me to go to the gym. So when it's time for me to go to the gym, I walk, I get out of the house, and I go out the same door in the back, and I'm going to go around out the front. And as I go in, they see me come out. There's bark, bark, and I go around the front, and I start walking down the neighborhood. I think, okay, I'm going to go to the gym now. And I'm about 100 yards down the road, and then I see 3 magpies fly over my house and follow me and like land on a tree in front of me as I'm walking. And as I'm walking by, it's like, bark, 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 bark. I look at them. And it's the baby too, who's knows how to fly now. And then I keep walking, and I pass them. And then about 100 yards later, they take off from the tree, they swoop beside me, and then they land on another tree and 50 feet in front of me as I'm walking. And as I go by, they bark, bark. And okay, and then I keep walking, and then I get to the park. I have to go over the grassy hill, and then a park across the street, and there's my gym. And I get to the park, and there's no more trees. And I start walking through the park. And it's about 500 yards through this park. And they take off from the tree, and they fly, and they land on the last place they can land, which is this bench on a grassy knoll in the park. The last spot they can land until you get to the street. And then I got to go on the street, cross the street, go down a few streets, and then to my gym, right? They fly and they land on the bench, and as I walk by, I'm like 3 feet from them as I walk by, and they're like bark, 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 bark. And then I leave and I get to the road, and they jump, they fly back, they live in the pine tree in my backyard. It's like they followed me, and they were like happy. And so then for most of the summer, or the beginning of the summer, every time I went out, they would like do that kind of greeting in the morning. And then I spent some time away. I did holidays and didn't hang around the house. And when I came back from holidays, they weren't there anymore. And I guess the little guy learned how to fly, and they're no longer sticking to the nest, and they're traveling around. So I lost touch with them for about a month and a half. But now, today, they were back. They, on the way to the gym, out of the blue, just as I'm crossing the grassy knoll, 3 large magpies land on the wooden bench. 2 really big ones and 1 sort of big one. The little guy's grown. They land on the bench, and as I'm walking by, bark, 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 bark. And I look at them, and they're looking at me. And I keep walking, and they launch and fly away. And I think it's the time of year where they're going to relocate. I don't know. I don't think they I don't think they fly south. A lot of the birds aren't flying south to the United States anymore with the travel boycott. A lot of our ducks and birds are staying in Canada. But I don't think magpies, what is it called when they fly? When they fly south? A lot of them don't. I think they stay here, but I think they relocate. They go to some of the parks in the city where there's dense forest and there's ponds where there's water. And I think they kind of, because they're no longer foraging for the food in the areas that they are other places in the city, they kind of move around. So I think they came to say goodbye. They literally, probably on their way, and they said, hey, let's just go say goodbye to that guy that saved our baby. And so they said goodbye, and now I probably won't see them again. So that makes me sad. And I hope they survive over the winter, and I hope the little guy gets nice and strong, and hopefully I'll see them again next spring if they come back and live in the pine tree in my backyard. That's what happened. That's what happened in my day today. Let me know in the comment section what happened with you. What profound thing happened to you? I'll catch you all on the next one.